mambo ya uchochezi tuache kama taifa ili tusukume nchi yetu katika safari ambayo imebaki. So mimi kwa heshima kubwa mimi nasema nafurahia nimerudi kwa katika ile kazi ambayo sasa nimepewa. Likizo yangu ilikuwa ya siku 15 hivyo imeisha. Sasa ni kibarua. So watch this space. Watch this space. We know what the agenda is. We know the expectations of the people of Kenya. We know the expectations of all the people of Kenya, from Mombasa County to Embu County, from Busia County to Turkana County, from Tharaka Nithi to Nyeri County. We know. And don't be cheated that for one area of our country to develop, another area has to suffer. It is not true. We can all develop. Every part of Kenya can develop. It is possible. That is the work of leaders who have no vision, who sell the idea that for one area to develop, another area has to be neglected. We can all carry one another as brothers and sisters, members of one family, one country called Kenya. We can develop every part of Kenya. We can pull those areas that have been left behind for a long time and pump a little more resources than the other areas to make sure that we bring up marginalized areas and equalize them with the rest of the country. It is even in the Constitution. It is called affirmative action. And that's what we will be pursuing. Lakini tusiambie watu ati ili watu ya mbele waendelee ni lazima Wakamba wakose maendeleo. Hiyo ni upuzi. If we go that direction, you destroy the country. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Tunaelewana? Mnakubaliana na mimi? Mnakubaliana na mimi? Kwa sababu tuwezi songa mbele when one part of the country is hurting. The whole country is hurting. I want to pledge for the unity of our country, the commitment of our leaders, and as a leader, don't tell us you're listening to the ground and doing nothing about it. Tell us you've listened to the ground and this is the solution to what the ground is doing. Tell us, having listened to the ground, this is the solution. The people of Mbere, they want this. The people of Embu, they want this. The people of Turkana, they want that. And this is how to do it. Uwezi kuwa kama kiongozi, kazi yako ni kusikiza raia vile wanasema, alafu unalia pamoja na raia. Umewasaidia na nini? Alafu unachemusha raia, unawachochea, unawaweka mori, unawaweka hasira, na hauna solution. The work of a leader is to listen to the needs of the people and generate the solutions to the needs of the people. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Mmechagua Roko ndio akuje hapa kulia na nyinyi? Si mmesikia vile ile kazi anafanyanga kule bunge kwa niaba yenu? Na wakiwa na huyo Senator Mundigi. That is how leaders should do when you know there is a problem about Muguka in Embu and Mbere. You go to the National Assembly, you look for the president, you look for other solutions, get a solution for your people. Sio kama tunaelewana. So mimi nimeona watu wengine hapa wanajaribu kutufunza kazi. Sisi tunajua kazi yetu. We are very clear. We know what the job is. Hao viongozi unaona hapa wengine ni viongozi vijana, but they are very clear on what their people require. And they have a roadmap to resolving the problems of their people. So mimi sitaki kuongea sana. Mimi ni mtu ya hivyo na endanga namna hiyo. Na saa nyingine watu wananiangalia wanauliza huyu sasa. Najua wanashangaa. Wanashangaa alifika hapa aje. You know? Wanashangaa wanauliza sasa alifika aje. Hiyo ndio kisirani. Hiyo ndio sasa unaona kisirani mingi. Kwa sababu mambo ya uongozi ni mambo ya Mungu. Kweli si kweli? Kweli si kweli? Na ukipata nafasi, your headache as a leader should be, what is it that I can do now that I have this opportunity for the people? Sio kuzurura hapa. Na wengine wanaonanga vile tunaongeanga, wanafikiri sisi ni watu waoga. Wakati nimekuwa waziri wa usalama, kuna watu kule North Rift walikuwa wanaendesha kazi ya banditry, majangili wa kuua watu. Walikuwa wezi wa ng'ombe, wanavamia raia, wanaiba ng'ombe, wanaua watu, na walikuwa na kiburi mingi. Kiburi mingi kwa sababu wameona mawaziri wengi wa usalama, wameona watu wengi, walikuwa na hiyo kiburi, wakasema sasa huyu mtu, huyu minister wa interior huyu atawezana na majangili? Ile kazi Mungu alitusaidia kufanya hapa. Kwa hiyo mambo, leo nasikia kuna sherehe, hata rais yako huko, kuna sherehe ya kusherekea amani katika pande hiyo ya Kenya. Kwa sababu uongozi sio mambo mingi, sio kiburi, sio sauti, sio mambo mingi. So we must be clear what we want. And I want to tell our people, msiwe na wasiwasi. Nyinyi mrelax. Just relax. Hiyo mambo yote mmesikia, si mmeomba mambo ya barabara? Si mmeomba maji na stima? Ngojeni tu. Mungu hawezi kubariki akupatie kazi ya kusaidia wa Kenya, alafu unaiwachilia, unaidunisha, inakuwa tu ni kazi ya uchochezi na kazi ya kusurura hapo na kutukana watu wale wengine. Ukienda kwa waheshimiwa kama hawa, wengine ni vijana, badala ya kuwasaidia mahali wanateleza kama hii, unaona nawaambia tujaribu hii namna hii, unaenda kuwatukana na waita majina. It's not possible. It is not possible. It is not possible that you are the only person who is knowledgeable. Na hii Kenya hatutakubalia mtu yoyote kuzurura hapa akichochea wananchi na kuwatia mori bila kuwasaidia katika shida zao. We will not allow that to continue. Nataka nikosoe wengine waliongea hapa kidogo. Sisi hatusemi mtu asikuje. Kila mtu aende kila mahali, kila kiongozi amekaribishwa. Hata hapa mbele North, hata mahali popote, kila mtu amekaribishwa na asipigwe kelele. Kwa sababu kazi ya kupiga kelele ni kazi ya mtu ameshindwa. When you are unable to articulate yourself, you make noise. Isn't it? When you are unable to persuade other people, you make noise. So msipigie viongozi kelele. Hata ule mjumbe utatoa kwa kiti, we ngojea umtoe 2027. Why are you making noise now? Msipige kelele, we muitishe mambo yake ile ya CDF, ya basari, ya nini. Kama umeamua hautamchagua, your time will come. Because there is a difference between leadership and populism. Those are two different things. Leadership ni kufanya majukumu kubwa, kuchukua kilio cha wananchi na kujaribu kutatua shida za wananchi, sio kutafuta makofi na kutafuta kupigia watu wengine makelele. So we need to be very careful. The start of this new year, we must be very focused na tuheshimiane. Tuheshimiane sisi zote, wakubwa kwa wadogo. Wananchi tuheshimu wananchi. Wananchi waheshimu viongozi wao. Hata kiongozi wako akikukosea, wewe muheshimu, na kwa sababu ni viongozi wa kuchaguliwa na kura, siku ya kupiga kura ikifika utamuadhibu kwa kumtopigia kura. But we cannot be a country of indiscipline, a country of lawlessness, a country of violence and making noise. So all leaders are welcome everywhere, anywhere. They should be treated well, whether they are in office or they are out of office. It doesn't really matter. They are still our leaders. But they must also respect other people. na pia waheshimu viongozi wale wengine. Naona watu wanaongea mambo mingi hapo, sijui nini. And I like it that way. Wanaangalia, wanaona kama ni kitu rahisi. We will not allow that to continue. Tuheshimiane. You saw when I went to the media interview before Christmas, I was very restrained. I didn't want to attack people. I didn't want to talk about other people. But you see, the problem is that people may think that we don't have anything to say. So tuheshimiane. Mimi nitaendelea na heshima yangu. I'm not going to change myself. I'm going to stay the way I am. Lakini tuheshimiane. 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 Yeah. Kana muri batando bambere. Watu wakuje huko na heshima. Watu wakifika hapa wakuje na heshima. Yeah. Number 2. Watu wetu tuachane na siasa ya kupigia viongozi makelele. That is wrong, brothers and sisters. It is not right. If you are unhappy with a leader, there is a way of dealing with that leader. Ni makanatima. Tukaigathayo. Kana burenda mbara. Kana ithayo. Bukamukira atongoria bothe. Marabaga kinya guku. Ukamagiteo. That is the Kenya. That's how you build a civilized society. That is how you build a modern country. We cannot be a country where leaders are scheming against each other and paying young people money to make noise at other people. Na mimi nimeomba hao viongozi ambao tuko nao katika hii mambo ya siasa. Mimi kusiwahi kiongozi wa kunisaidia kupangia vile kiongozi fulani atapigiwa kelele. I will not be part of that. I will actually denounce those plans. It is not necessary. Hiyo kazi ingine ya kushindana kwa siasa, ule anataka kushindana na sisi angojee hapo mbele. Ataona kilichomtoa kanga manyoya. Tawamalizia asubuhi na mapema. Asubuhi na mapema. Yeah, lakini saa hii tuko kazi. So naenda kuweka kibao hako imeandikwa Men at Work. Ile kibao ya wale watu wanajenganga barabara inaitwa Men at Work, ndio naanza kuweka hapo. Na muangalia kutoka kesho ile kazi tunaenda kupromosha Kenya hii. Yeah. Kama wewe uko na hasira zako na mambo ya visirani, usituletee visirani yako. Please, na tuheshimiane. I repeat, tuheshimiane. Mimi heshima zote nimekupatia, but you must also respect me. Kwa sababu mimi naona mahali tunaendelea kuna mahali tunataka kufika. So siwacha niachie hapo. Bwana asifiwe. God is good and all the time. Muriaro ringi ovoro. Asante sana Bishop. Kwanza wacha nianze kwa kusema ni kwa sababu gani tuko hapa siku ya leo. Nimeongea na mbunge wenu, ndugu yangu mdogo Ruko, na tukapanga atafute mahali hapa tufanye kanisa siku ya leo, kwa sababu nimekaa muda bila kupitia sehemu hii ambayo ni sehemu ya nyumbani, na niko hapa ama sisi tuko hapa siku ya leo kutoa shukrani. Hiyo ndio ilimetuleta hapa. Tumekuja kutoa shukrani kwa sababu Mungu amekuwa mwema kwa taifa letu la Kenya. Tumekuja kutoa shukurani kwa sababu hata kama tuko na changamoto nyingi katika familia zetu, katika maeneo yetu, katika nchi yetu, tuko na changamoto nyingi. Hata kama kuna changamoto, Mungu amekuwa mwema kwangu na kwako. Ni kwa sababu hiyo tuko hai, kwa sababu kuna wengine walikuwa hai mwaka uliopita, lakini saa hii hawako hai. Tumekuja kushukuru kwa sababu hata kama tuko na matatizo yetu kama taifa la Kenya, kuna vile Mungu ametusaidia. Every time when we think the country is getting into trouble, there is a way in which God always comes through for us. And therefore, we are grateful for God, the God who has preserved our nation, protected us, unlike many other countries who have gotten challenges, and those challenges have overrun them and they have destroyed their countries. We are grateful to God. We are not special. It is just God's favor. Mimi nimefika hapa leo kutoa shukrani. Hawa waheshimiwa tumefika hapa leo kutoa shukrani, kuambia Mungu asante. Hata kama tuko na matatizo, tuko hai, tuko na afya, tuko na akili timamu, na matatizo ambayo tuko nayo, tukiwa na uhai na tukiwa na afya, tutaweza kusuluhisha shida zetu. Neema katima. Neema katima. Kwa hivyo askofu, mimi nataka niombe msamaha kwa mambo mengi ambayo yameongewa hapa ambayo hayaambatani na kutoa shukrani. I want to apologize and I want to assure you, going forward, katika mikutano ambayo mimi nitakuwa, Mungu akinijalia, mimi nitaongea na hao wenzangu, tutasikizana. Sana sana mikutano ya kanisa. Mimi naomba tuheshimu Mwenyezi Mungu, tuheshimu kanisa, tuwe watu watulivu. Siku ingine tutafanya mkutano mwingine kule sokoni wa kuongea mambo yale mengine. Na mimi si walaumu hawa viongozi, kwa sababu vile wameongea mambo ambayo yapo, na mimi nasema tu going forward, all of us, me included, we must always try to find a way of moderating ourselves and making sure that we stick to the business of the day and we do what the occasion calls for. Otherwise, mimi nashukuru hawa wabunge na washukuru hawa viongozi wote, na kama tumekosea, askofu, mtusamee. Sisi ni watu ambao tungetaka kuwa kielelezo ama kuwa mfano mzuri ya vile mtu angekuwa kiongozi na pia abaki kuwa mcha Mungu na abaki kuwa mtu kama watu wale wengine. We respect the church. We do not intend to use the church for our own objectives. We have a lot of opportunities to do the other things that we like doing elsewhere. Jambo la pili, niseme vile tunashukuru Mungu, tukiendelea kushukuru Mungu. Tumeanza mwaka mpya. Huu mwaka ni mwaka muhimu sana katika taifa letu la Kenya. Wakati wa likizo umeisha. Tumekuwa likizo kidogo ya siku kidogo kama wiki moja na nusu ama wiki mbili, na sasa tumerudi kazini. Mimi naona kuna watu wengi walikuwa wanaongea maneno, wakiongea na kusema mambo mengi. Nataka niwaambie tusiingie katika mtego wa wale ambao hawana mwelekeo na wale ambao wanataka kupotosha wale wengine. nchi hii yetu ya Kenya, tukiwa viongozi na tukiwa wananchi, lazima tujue yale mambo ambayo viongozi wameongea hapa ni mambo muhimu. Wameomba barabara, wameomba tuongezee maji, tuongezee stima, tuboreshe afya na tufanye mambo mengi ya kimaendeleo ambayo nataka niwahakikishie tutayafanya. Lakini vile vile na wasihi kama ndugu yenu na kama mmoja wenu na kama mwananchi mwenzenu wa taifa hili la Kenya, vile tunasonga mbele kujenga mabarabara, kuweka stima, kuweka maji, tujue taifa letu la Kenya ili liwe thabiti na ili tuwe hakika tutaacha hii nchi katika mikono mizuri ya watoto wetu. Lazima tujue baada ya kujenga barabara na kuweka maji na kuweka shule na kuweka hospitali, lazima tujenge pia utaifa wetu. Tujenge upendo kama wananchi wa Kenya. Tupendane sisi wenyewe, tupende nchi yetu, tuwe watu wazuri. And I want to make it clear that it is very important for us to build roads, to provide electricity, to provide water, to build hospitals and health centers. That is our priority. But equally, we have another priority. And that priority is to make sure we protect this country from division, from falling apart, from hatred, from all the negative things that could jeopardize our national interest. Hata ukijenga shule, lakini watoto ambao tuko nao hawataki kusoma, hiyo nchi haina matumaini. Hata ukijenga barabara na watu sisi wenyewe tuko na chuki, tumejawa na kiburi, tumekuwa na mgawanyiko, hiyo nchi haina matumaini. I want us to build our national values the same way we want to build the physical infrastructure and social amenities of our country. Jambo la tatu. Unajua mimi nimekuwa waziri wa usalama wa taifa. Na mimi tangu siku ile nimepewa hiyo kazi, mimi sijapata hata siku moja kupumzika. Sababu najua usalama wa taifa ndio haya mambo yote ambayo tungetaka yafanyike. Lazima taifa letu liwe salama. Tusipiwe na maadui, nchi yetu isivamiwe na majangili na wale watu wa itikadi, wale wanaua watu wengi. So we had to work very hard for the last 2 years to protect our country from danger. And therefore, wakati nimepata hii kazi mpya, nikaomba siku kidogo tu na rais, nikamwambia kwa sababu ni Christmas, wacha nipumzike siku 2 ndio tuanze kazi Januari. Sasa hapo ndio story inaanza, sijui imetokea, sijui imekuwa nini. So I just want to assure you the country is very stable. We are now coherent, the government is coherent. Hapo nyuma tumepoteza miaka 2 na stories za bure. Tumepoteza 2 years quarreling amongst ourselves. It is easier to understand a quarrel between the government of the day and the opposition. That one you can understand, because these are 2 different political formations. But when you have quarrels in the same government, that government will not deliver. Kweli si kweli? Kweli si kweli? The Bible says a house and a kingdom divided cannot stand. Kwa hivyo sasa hivi tuko ile mizozo ambayo imekuwa imeisha. Hatutaki kuingia katika mambo ya mashindano ya ukubwa, ya kiburi. Kazi iliyo mbele yetu ni ile kazi ambao viongozi wenu wamesema hapa. Tuko na barabara zetu zimekwama. The questions I want the people of Kenya to be asking us who are in leadership is how far we've done, how far we've gone on our roads projects, how far we've gone on our water project, electricity, and all the other things. Askofu, vile umehubiri, umetuambia kanisa ni chumvi ya ulimwengu, na umetuambia kanisa linasimamia amani na utulivu na uwiano na umoja katika jamii. Na ni kweli. Naomba muendelee kutusaidia kama kanisa. Nchi yetu iwe nchi ya ukweli. Inawezekanaje mimi nikiwa kiongozi kusimama mbele ya watu na kusema katika miaka miwili ambayo imepita hakuna kitu chochote ambazo kimefanyika? That is not true. What is true is that some work has been done, some other work is still pending, and some other work is still not yet started. Kwa hivyo tusiwe watu wa kuchemsha wananchi, kuchochea umma. Unachemsha tu umma na hauna solution, hauna jibu. Kazi yako kama kiongozi ni kuchochea umma, unachochea sijui nini, sijui hii. Kazi ya kiongozi sio kuchochea umma. Kazi ya kiongozi ni kusikiza mahitaji ya umma na kufikiria jinsi ya kusuluhisha hizo shida. That's why you're in leadership. Kwa hivyo mtuombee kama kanisa so that we remain focused, we remain true to our calling, we remain committed. Na hii mambo ya vita na mashindano na mambo ya uchochezi tuache kama taifa, ili tusukume nchi yetu katika safari ambayo imebaki. So mimi kwa heshima kubwa, mimi nasema nafurahia nimerudi kwa katika ile kazi ambayo sasa nimepewa. Likizo yangu ilikuwa ya siku 15 hivyo, imeisha. Sasa ni kibarua. So watch this space. Watch this space. We know what the agenda is. We know the expectations of the people of Kenya. We know the expectations of all the people of Kenya. From Mombasa County to Embu County. From Busia County to Turkana County. From Tharaka Nithi to Nyeri County. We know. And don't be cheated that for one area of our country to develop, another area has to suffer. It is not true. We can all develop. Every part of Kenya can develop. It is possible. That is the work of leaders who have no vision, who sell the idea that for one area to develop, another area has to be neglected. We can all carry one another as brothers and sisters, members of one family, one country called Kenya. We can develop every part of Kenya. We can pull those areas that have been left behind for a long time and pump a little more resources than the other areas to make sure that we bring up marginalized areas and equalize them with the rest of the country. It is even in the Constitution. It is called affirmative action. And that's what we will be pursuing. Lakini tusiambie watu ati ili watu ya mbele waendelee ni lazima Wakamba wakose maendeleo. Hiyo ni upuzi. If we go that direction, you destroy the country. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Tunaelewana? Mnakubaliana na mimi? Mnakubaliana na mimi? Kwa sababu tuwezi songa mbele when one part of the country is hurting. The whole country is hurting. I want to pledge for the unity of our country, the commitment of our leaders, and as a leader, don't tell us you're listening to the ground and doing nothing about it. Tell us you've listened to the ground and this is the solution to what the ground is doing. tell us, having listened to the ground, this is the solution. The people of Nyeri, they want this. The people of Embu, they want this. The people of Turkana, they want that. And this is how to do it. Uwezi kuwa kama kiongozi, kazi yako ni kusikiza raia vile wanasema, alafu unalia pamoja na raia. Umewasaidia na nini? Alafu unachemusha raia, unawachochea, unawaweka mori, unawaweka hasira, na hauna solution. The work of a leader is to listen to the needs of the people and generate the solutions to the needs of the people. Sio kama tunaelewana. Mmechagua Roko ndio akuje hapa kulia na nyinyi? Si mmesikia vile ile kazi anafanyanga kule bunge kwa niaba yenu? Na wakiwa na huyo Senator Mundigi. That is how leaders should do when you know there is a problem about Mogoka in Embu and Nyeri. You go to the National Assembly, you look for the president, you look for other solutions, get a solution for your people. Sio kama tunaelewana. So mimi nimeona watu wengine hapa wanajaribu kutufunza kazi. Sisi tunajua kazi yetu. We are very clear. We know what the job is. Hao viongozi unaona hapa, wengine ni viongozi vijana, but they are very clear on what their people require. And they have a roadmap to resolving the problems of their people. So mimi sitaki kuongea sana. Mimi ni mtu ya hivyo na endanga namna hiyo. Na saa ingine watu wananiangalia wanauliza huyu sasa. Najua wanashangaa. Wanashangaa alifika hapa aje. You know? Wanashangaa wanauliza sasa alifika aje. Hiyo ndio kisirani. Hiyo ndio sasa unaona kisirani mingi. Kwa sababu mambo ya uongozi ni mambo ya Mungu. Kweli si kweli? Kweli si kweli? Na ukipata nafasi, your headache as a leader should be, what is it that I can do now that I have this opportunity for the people? Sio kuzurura hapa. Na wengine wanaonanga vile tunaongeanga, wanafikiri sisi ni watu waoga. Wakati nimekuwa waziri wa usalama, kuna watu kule North Rift walikuwa wanaendesha kazi ya banditry, majangili wa kuua watu. Walikuwa wezi wa ng'ombe, wanavamia raia, wanaiba ng'ombe, wanaua watu, na walikuwa na kiburi mingi. Kiburi mingi kwa sababu wameona mawaziri wengi wa usalama, wameona watu wengi, walikuwa na hiyo kiburi, wakasema sasa huyu mtu, huyu minister wa interior huyu atawezana na majangili. Ile kazi Mungu alitusaidia kufanya hapa. Kwa hiyo mambo, leo nasikia kuna sherehe, hata rais yako huku, kuna sherehe ya kusherekea amani katika pande hiyo ya Kenya. Kwa sababu uongozi sio mambo mingi, sio kiburi, sio sauti, sio mambo mingi. So we must be clear what we want. And I want to tell our people, msiwe na wasiwasi. Nyinyi mrelax. Just relax. Hiyo mambo yote mmesikia, si mmeomba mambo ya barabara? Si mmeomba maji na stima? Ngojeni tu. Mungu hawezi kubariki akupatie kazi ya kusaidia wa Kenya, alafu unaiwachilia, unaidunisha, inakuwa tu ni kazi ya uchochezi na kazi ya kusurura hapo na kutukana watu wale wengine. Ukienda kwa waheshimiwa kama hawa, wengine ni vijana, badala ya kuwasaidia mahali wanatelesa kama hii, unaona nawaambia tujaribu hii namna hii, unaenda kuwatukana na waita majina. It's not possible. It is not possible. It is not possible that you are the only person who is knowledgeable. Na hii Kenya hatutakubalia mtu yoyote kuzurura hapa akichochea wananchi na kuwatia mori bila kuwasaidia katika shida zao. We will not allow that to continue. Nataka nikosoe wengine waliongea hapa kidogo. Sisi hatusemi mtu asikuje. Kila mtu aende kila mahali, kila kiongozi amekaribishwa. Hata hapa mbele North, hata mahali popote, kila mtu amekaribishwa na asipigwe kelele. Kwa sababu kazi ya kupiga kelele ni kazi ya mtu ameshindwa. When you are unable to articulate yourself, you make noise. Isn't it? When you are unable to persuade other people, you make noise. So musipigie viongozi kelele. Hata ule mjumbe utatoa kwa kiti. We ngojea umtoe 2027. Why are you making noise now? Musipige kelele. We muitishe mambo yake ile ya CDF, ya basari, ya nini. Kama umeamua hautamchagua, your time will come. Because there is a difference between leadership and populism. Those are two different things. Leadership ni kufanya majukumu kubwa, kuchukua kilio cha wananchi na kujaribu kutatua shida za wananchi, sio kutafuta makofi na kutafuta kupigia watu wengine makelele. So we need to be very careful. The start of this new year, we must be very focused na tuheshimiane. Tuheshimiane sisi zote, wakubwa kwa wadogo. Wananchi tuheshimu wananchi. Wananchi waheshimu viongozi wao. Hata kiongozi wako akikukosea, wewe muheshimu, na kwa sababu ni viongozi wa kuchaguliwa na kura, siku ya kupiga kura ikifika utamuadhibu kwa kumtopigia kura. But we cannot be a country of indiscipline, a country of lawlessness, a country of violence and making noise. So all leaders are welcome everywhere, anywhere. They should be treated well, whether they are in office or they are out of office. It doesn't really matter. They are still our leaders. But they must also respect other people. Na pia waheshimu viongozi wale wengine. Naona watu wanaongea mambo mingi hapo, sijui nini. And I like it that way. Wanaangalia, wanaona kama ni kitu rahisi. We will not allow that to continue. Tuheshimiane. You saw when I went to the media interview before Christmas, I was very restrained. I didn't want to attack people. I didn't want to talk about other people. But you see, the problem is that people may think that we don't have anything to say. So tuheshimiane. Mimi nitaendelea na heshima yangu. I'm not going to change myself. I'm going to stay the way I am. Lakini tuheshimiane. 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 Yeah. Kana buri gatando bambere. Watu wakuje huko na heshima? Watu wakifika hapa wakuje na heshima? Yeah. Number 2. Watu wetu tuachane na siasa ya kupigia viongozi makelele. That is wrong, brothers and sisters. It is not right. If you are unhappy with a leader, there is a way of dealing with that leader. Ni makanatima. Tukaigathayo. Kana burenda mbara. Burenda mbara. Kana ithayo. Bukamukira atongoria bothe. Marabaga kinya guku. Ukamagiteo. That is the Kenya. That's how you build a civilized society. That is how you build a modern country. We cannot be a country where leaders are scheming against each other and paying young people money to make noise at other people. Na mimi nimeomba hao viongozi ambao tuko nao katika hii mambo ya siasa. Mimi kusiwahi kiongozi wa kunisaidia kupangia vile kiongozi fulani atapigiwa kelele. I will not be part of that. I will actually denounce those plans. It is not necessary. Hiyo kazi nyingine ya kushindana kwa siasa, ule anataka kushindana na sisi angojee hapo mbele. Ataona kilichomtoa kanga manyoya. Tawamalizia asubuhi na mapema. Asubuhi na mapema. Yeah, lakini saa hii tuko kazi. So naenda kuweka kibao hako imeandikwa men at work. Ile kibao ya wale watu wanajenganga barabara inaitwa men at work, ndio naanza kuweka hapo. Na muangalia kutoka kesho ile kazi tunaenda kupromosha Kenya hii. Yeah. Kama wewe uko na hasira zako na mambo ya visirani, usituletee visirani yako. Please, na tuheshimiane. I repeat, tuheshimiane. Mimi heshima zote nimekupatia, but you must also respect me. Kwa sababu mimi naona mahali tunaendelea kuna mahali tunataka kufika. So
we were meant to have him yesterday, but we'll have him this morning. The senator from Busia County, Okeom Tata. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, Senator?
I'm fine. I'm very fine.
Karibu sana.
Asante and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes.
Your year started with a bit of a bump, ended with some, and then, here we are on the other side of it.
It was necessary trouble.
We'll be looking into some of that this morning. But let's welcome you properly. CT is in a very interesting country this week. And CT, will you welcome the senator with our proverb today?
Yes. This country is a multi-ethnic country, very, very multi-ethnic. It is said it has the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa after Nigeria and South Africa. Which country is this, Senator?
It is good.
All right, let me start again. It's a multi-ethnic country, really multi-ethnic, okay? It is said it has the third largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa after Nigeria and South Africa.
It can only be Kenya.
Okay.
These Kenyans and their responses.
Can only be.
Because Kenya is not first, then number one and number two have been taken. Then number three belongs to Kenya.
Okay.
But the man didn't even pause.
No. Why?
Kenya. Okay. Right. Our proverbs in the Kiswahili language.
But I'm told that the economy of Kenya is smaller than the economy of Lagos. I don't know if it is true.
I mean, it's
that's stretching it.
maybe pushing it a bit, but I mean, the economy of Lagos is actually quite huge. And we're talking about
what's the population of Lagos?
The population of Lagos is 17 million.
Yes.
So I mean,
it is serious.
Yeah.
Serious.
As we're still dwindling around 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we do have countries that have 2 million people. Country.
Yeah.
5 million. So, yeah. Huge economy. And what's the population of Nigeria again?
Well, we're knocking on 200 million.
200 million.
Yeah.
So we are a quarter.
Yeah.
So it is within the realms of possibility.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay? The proverb. Mla chake mwenziwe na chake uliwa. The senator has found this
Quite amusing.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, we have got these fellows, they call you a hanger, whoever they were.
Yes.
They seem to have,
And wherever they came from.
they seem to have been doing a lot of things, some of which we are beginning to disagree with.
Yes.
Like when they say, aliyeju mngoje chini.
Yes, hapana.
Siku hizi hawashuki.
Yes.
Unamparaga juu mteremusha.
Akishapanda hashuki.
Hashuki. Wahenga mambo yao ni magumu.
The Wahenga were useful, but now... so what do you think the Wahenga are trying to tell us here? Yes.
I think it's vanity of vanity. All is vanity. Yeah. So you cannot I think the world is for sharing. It's not a world for trying to keep on everything and thinking like you are invincible or whatever. Your turn will come. Yeah, you'll be eaten by maggots.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow. Do not spare them. Finish.
All right then. That's a good place to start. You're in the hot seat, obviously. Come flaming this morning, Senator. As we jump right into it, there's certain things happening in the country at the moment. One could say, abductions is front and center of those conversations. We did see that on the 30th of December, during the protests against some of these abductions and against the status quo, you were arrested. And you and a number of other people chained yourself in the city and said we were not moving. Give us an overview of exactly what was happening as we then get to the place of January 6th yesterday, when 5 of the 6 most current abductees were released in different places around the country. The questions still linger in terms of who took them, when the president clearly said it wasn't me. The head of police says we don't know. The IG rather says we don't know. And on the day when the IG was supposed to present himself to court to explain where these gentlemen are by order, then we saw 5 out of 6 of them being released. What is happening?
I think somebody is trying to dismantle this country the way we know it, because the name of this country is a Republic of Kenya, and the word republic for me means that the country is a polity governed by law, and the word republic for me is not a light word. And this takes me back to the words of Benjamin Franklin when they had just given themselves the American Constitution, when he was asked, what have you given us? Is it a monarchy or a republic? And Benjamin Franklin answered, a republic if you can keep it. So a republic is a going concern. A republic is a continuous challenge. So what is going on is that somebody is trying to dismantle the republic. Somebody does not like a republic. Somebody would like to establish a fiefdom or a kingdom or something else, but a republic. That's why we are saying that all the Republican principles and institutions are being dismantled. Public office is no longer for service, but for theft. In a republic, public office is for service. If you want to get rich, you go into enterprise. You don't go into politics, you don't go into the civil service. Yet here what is happening. So the abductions and whatever are an attempt to operate outside the law, to intimidate people, to create fear, especially among the youngsters who are coming out forcefully to demand good governance, and are doing so in a very, very eloquent way, using tools of exposition that some of us never thought existed. And so those in power who have a history, when you look at the footsteps leading to where they are footsteps of blood, footsteps of theft, footsteps of mismanagement and what have you. That's what has made them. So when people call for good governance, those people become an existential threat to this order. And so as you see, they are regrouping, as they are trying to do everything possible to make sure that the demand for good governance, which has been so well articulated in the recent past, beginning with the demos of the Gen Zs and whatever, does not come to fruition. And so all that they are doing is trying to intimidate and sell fear to people so that it can be business as usual. But the young people are saying that it can't be business as usual. So there's an existential war.
Break it down for us, Senator. The use of fear, which I believe is a resource that many governments, many people, individuals, communities use. I mean, look at the art of war, look at the art of conflict, look at all of this. It is used regularly. But how would the use of that, instilling fear in the hearts and minds of Kenyans, then destabilize or dismantle the idea of a republic?
It will dismantle the idea of a republic, because a republic is supposed to be a stable environment where things are predictable, where if you have got a mistake, you are processed. If you break the law, you are arrested in a structured way, you are processed in a structured way, and a verdict is rendered in a structured way. But when they begin disappearing people, and some have even turned out dead, we don't know what circumstances, then you realize that somebody is saying that we are not going to go that route. We are going to deal with you in a different way. We're not going to deal with you in a way that's there. And they've gone so far that, as I keep on telling people, that today, when I sing the national anthem of Kenya, I don't see the country called Kenya in that national anthem. And that's how far they've gone and succeeded in dismantling the republic. Look at even the judiciary. You have seen the complaints from none other than the Law Society of Kenya that the judiciary has been captured. That's what they call jury pass and whatever people call. Look at the police. Like yesterday, something very strange happened, because when they were done, these people had been released with sort of diffused the demos.
Yes.
And somebody walked into my office, a gentleman from Kisii, saying, though you are not my senator, I think I find you approachable, so I've come to seek assistance. And my assistance is this. I need a certificate of, I applied for a certificate of good conduct. I'm supposed to go for an interview at the U.S. Embassy on Monday. My time is running out. It's taken months. My certificate has not come through. Can you help? How can you assist me? And I told him, okay, I'm not busy. Let us jump into my car. I drive you to the CID headquarters.
Right.
I find out why your certificate is not, why you have not received your certificate, because you've got your documentation.
Yeah.
Only to drive when you get to the gate of the CID. As soon as my vehicle arrives, I see a heavy mobilization.
Yes, they smelt you from far.
Of police.
Okay.
They block the gate. I didn't understand what was going on. Then after talking, they tell me that I'm not allowed to enter. That orders have been given, I cannot enter a government institution. So they said, what do you want? I said, well, this gentleman who wants a certificate of, who has come to my office, he wants a certificate of good conduct, and I've brought him out to find out why he has not been given a certificate. Then they tell me, but this is too small a thing for a senator to be doing. But I said, it's not too small a thing for me to do, because his life depends on that. Yeah. And he is my employer as a voter, and he has come to me that there's a problem. The state is not serving. How is it a small thing? This thing is making sleepless nights. So they said, okay, let us go with him. So they go in with him, they attend to him, then he comes back and we go, but I'm not allowed to enter the DCI. So when you get this kind of things happening, then you see that the country is being dismantled. Why shouldn't a member of the public, and more so a senator, be able to access a government facility?
A public institution.
Public institution, why? If that can be done to a senator, what is done to ordinary people? Look at that concept.
I mean, Senator, as we talk about the abductions that happened and even what happened at the DCI yesterday, it is as though the state itself is afraid of Kenyans speaking of the ills that are happening. And why would that be so?
No, I think there used to be an advert by Kenya Power at one time called Mulika Mwizi.
Yeah.
So hiyo mulika mwizi wa Kenya wameanza kumulika wezi. Na wezi wamesema kwamba tutapigana. And I've always been giving an analogy in this country saying that when I look at this country, it looks like one big prison whereby periodically, every 5 years, the prisoners are given a chance to choose who among the wardens becomes the chief warden. So when you look at all the manifestos that come out, there are manifestos that try to improve life within the prison, allow you more time in the sunshine, fumigate vermins and what have you, allow you more rations. But none of the manifestos says we shall break down the prison. Now, what you see happening with the Gen Z and whatever, it's a jailbreak. There's a jailbreak. People want to break down this prison. And you can see that the wardens have said, okay, forget about who is the chief warden. Let us regroup and make sure that the prison remains intact. Because if the prisoners go, we have no business. So that's the existential fight that is going on. And that's why you hear when young people come up, they are not associated with any tribe. If you like, if I were to use an example of the president's tribe, just for example, when you look at the president's tribe right now, the Kalenjin, Kibet Bull is a Kalenjin. The most of the young boys are doing a lot of very beautiful cartoons come from that background.
Yeah.
You see, so they are no longer captive to that thing. They find that the idea of being contained within a tribe and being denied to be Kenyans is suffocating. The tribe can no longer deliver for them. It's the nation and maybe even the continent is what they need. Not even Kenya might even be small for them. So these people cannot be contained in those containers of the past. So the canons of the past have to fall silent and allow the emerging canons to take over. So that's the war we are having. And it's a war that the old order cannot win. Try as they may, they cannot dismantle the demand for good governance.
Is the call still as strong? Because here we are and we're saying that it's easy. Look at what are we talking about here? Look at the distraught nature of these 5 gentlemen who were released yesterday. Look at the fear in a father's eyes when they went to court asking for the release of Billy Mwangi, for example. Look at the mother holding on to her son yesterday when he was finally released. And for a lot of people, those parents, their loved ones would say, I'd rather you keep quiet than for us to get into a situation where I might fear to lose you again. Is it still a struggle?
Yes, it is. You contrast that with the relation on the street. They charge the street. You saw the mothers came out and said yesterday, you men, stay off. If you want to help us, buy us a gunia or something, but just keep off. Let us deal with the state. Let us make our demand in the state hard. So when you go on the Kenyan street, there's a lot of celebration. When you see people like myself coming back to the Kenyan street, having realized that the institution of parliament is virtually stale, is captured, and the only thing that's working is the street. And you see that the pressure on the street bears results. You saw the Finance Act, the Finance Bill, the street quashed it when parliament failed. You think these abductions, the street is quashing it. So when you look at the Kenyan street, people are upbeat. And yesterday, if you saw the tweet Kibet Bull released, that he was dropped somewhere in Luanda, he didn't know where to go, so he went from Disco Matanga until morning. Look at that. And Kibet Bull gave me a call. Because he was abducted when he had left my office. So he gave me a call saying, after your driver dropped me at the archives, I got into the metro bus. I went up to Kikuyu, but just before you go to Kikuyu, it's like the vehicle was stopped, and a lady entered the bus and sat on a chair opposite where I was sitting, and she was taking selfies with my picture and posting. Then when I alight in Kikuyu, I'm grabbed by this man who then blindfolded me and put me on a long drive. But when talking to him, I felt that he had no fear. I felt that this guy has not been crushed. If anything, he has been emboldened. And what is happening is that the parents, of course, there's that trauma at a personal level and what have you. But as a group, as a movement, I'm seeing it, that the people are getting more energized. And the old order would better just pack and accept for a transition that is peaceful, a transition that will not lead to a lot of mayhem, because I would dread anybody trying to rig the next elections. Yeah, it can be a big disaster on those people.
Now, Senator, if you look at the papers today, we talk about released from captivity, released, but by who? The president says, ask the IG. IG says, I don't know. But everyone says we were arrested by men with AK-47.
Now, the thing is, the idea that the IG, this thing of having pilots' water on your hands, I think this country has rejected that. You cannot accept pilots' water anymore. This man called the IG should make a complete statement. If I don't know what is happening, but I've taken the following steps to find them. He doesn't say that. These people have been released, and all the people have been released from captivity. You would expect the police, if they really didn't know what was happening, to assemble them to some debriefing, to try and establish a pattern so that they can get the intelligence and be able to arrest the culprits. But they don't do that. They are complicit. I don't even say they are acquiescing. They are complicit and they are driving this thing. So just to say that I don't know is not enough. If he doesn't know,
find out.
No, pack and go. An IG is not supposed not to know what criminals are doing. You pack and go. If something of this magnitude can happen under your watch, you pack and go. The DCI, you pack and go. NIS, you pack and go. Because you cannot tell Kenyans that your security is up to you and you are earning a salary to provide security. Then you have no function. Pack and go. Let us defend ourselves.
So essentially what you're saying is that there is a display of incompetence here.
It's a display of incompetence that they are going to pay for. We are going to prosecute them. It's not ending there. Even those people who are engaged in verbal diarrhea in Bungoma the other day, the Ichungwas of this world and what have you, we are prosecuting them. They don't deserve to hold public office. You cannot justify a violation of the law, an abduction, when the Constitution in Article 25 makes it the right to habeas corpus, the right to be produced in court when arrested, as an irreducible, a right that cannot be reduced. Even during a state of emergency, you can't. So somebody cannot go and stand on a public podium and begin saying that they can justify that. So those people, we are going after them, we are prosecuting them, and as I speak, we have got a case against the IG, the other guy, the DCI, and NIS. We want to, they are coming to court tomorrow. We were supposed to produce these bodies, and tomorrow was the deadline. After which we had told them we are going to have now the mother of all demos was to happen on Thursday. Now that has been put on the shelves. But the individuals who have been running around, those Kasudis and all these idiots who keep on running around, and I use the word idiot deliberately, because you have to be somebody who has lost it to justify an atrocity that undermines the law, which law allows you to hold the office you are holding.
You know, the year 2001, September 11th, something very drastic happened in the US. We call it 9/11. And it marked a very, very fundamental change in the way Americans look at the foreign policy, the domestic policy, and how it influenced the way they understood immigration, and how it is they even responded by creating something called the Patriots Act. What then followed, how it affected Muslims, Arabs, South Asian individuals who wanted to come into the country, the whole thinking. And the underpinning sentiment was one of fear, because people began to fear for their own security. So their whole rational process was altered. But it also enabled the government to introduce measures that actually started affecting the civil liberties of the people. There was an attack, the whole world saw it, we know, and you could even rationalize why the government was taking these steps. There is no 9/11 situation in this country. We haven't been attacked in that manner. And yet, the actions that we see are similar. There are attempts to either change the law, there are attempts to either introduce legislation that would enable the government to have more powers than it actually has. And the moment that happens, it means that the civil liberties that are enshrined in our constitution are now being put aside. And when that fails, then you see activity, and this is what we're discussing here. So it raises the question, you see, when someone seeks to instill fear, because this seems to be the process, I have to ask the question, what do they fear?
Why do they fear?
I think that 9/11 moment happened in this country, but in a very insidious way. The 9/11 moment for this country was the enactment, the promulgation of the Constitution.
Yes.
It was a dramatic change that people thought was a passing cloud.
Yes.
And now they're realizing that this thing is fundamental. Look at Article 40, Clause 6. The right to property do not extend to property that was fraudulently acquired.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
That is phrase alone. There's a group in this country, when they read that phrase, they shudder. You see? They shudder. And when you read that phrase, against another phrase that runs with it, is in Article 226, Clause 5. It says, it is about culpability. If you have been a holder of a political office or in the civil service, and public funds were lost or misappropriated under your care,
Under your watch, yes.
under your watch,
Yes.
you are responsible whether you are in office or not.
Whether you were there when somebody signed or not.
Yes.
Whether you were there when it was spent or not.
So those phrases are momentous phrases that those who have got within the circles who read shudder when they encounter. They say, when will Kenyans discover this?
Indeed.
When they discover this, will be that. So all these attempts, and are running alongside what they're calling the NADCO, the attempt to undermine the constitution and change it. Then you see that there's an attempt to block the birth of this republic that was pronounced in 2010
With the promulgation of the
new
Constitution. Of the 2010
Yes.
Constitution.
So that's where the struggle and the fear is.
Senator for Busia County, from Busia County, Okiya Mtata is our guest this hour, and we're looking at some of these issues around abductions, and we're saying, why does it have to be this way? Why perpetuated in this manner? And what does it actually mean vis-a-vis the Constitution? Come back and look at some of the constitutionality or not of some of these things. To be abducted or not to be abducted, a form of fear, a form of control, and looking at the constitutionality of all of this, and then saying that folks who are under the supreme law of the Constitution. Our guest this hour is Senator Okiya Mtata, who is a senator from Busia County, and also at the forefront of all of this. We cannot have this conversation, Senator, without looking at the speculation that is rife from many quarters. And sometimes an uncomfortable question, but must be asked either way and dealt with once and for all, is that when we look at this, what is currently happening in the country, and we look at how you've been involved in all, I mean, not just this year, from the very, very, from a very long time ago, involved in upholding the rights of Kenyans. And then most recently say that, you want to look at the possibility of being president of the country. So one must ask then that your involvement in all of this, going to court, getting, certificates of urgency to get certain things looked at, petitioning here and there, is it a boost to you, or is it still at front and center of you fighting for the rights of Kenyans?
Well, maybe before I answer that, I should point out that according to the Kenya Human Rights Commission, About 80 people have been abducted.
Yes.
And are missing.
I think 82 is the number.
Something like that. So the release of the ones whom, in fact, the people who are released are the ones whom we had listed in my petition, which I filed before I went to the street. I filed a petition in the High Court, seeking that they be produced. And the court gave them 7 days, which are, I think, expiring today, to release those people or to produce them in court. So there are other people, according to the Human Rights Commission, whose details I don't have, who are still missing. And so the abductions question is still hot. And we hope that going forward we shall liaise with the Kenya Human Rights Commission to try and get the full identities of these people and then see what kind of pressure we can apply to get them released.
Yes.
Yeah, now back to the question of the governance of this country. I go back to Plato. Plato said that, I think something today, I don't have the exact word, but he said something to the effect that the price good men pay for not getting engaged involved in politics is to be governed by lesser men, be governed by people who are lesser than themselves. So to me, I take that thing very seriously, that the question of governance is important. And when I got into the activism and what I was doing, activism is a form of governance.
I think the quote was that the price good men pay for indifference in public affairs is to be ruled by evil men.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. So I don't want to be ruled by evil men.
Okay.
That's why I'm involved. And I've been active either as an activist of obeying Article 3 clause 1, which says everybody should uphold and defend the Constitution. And I've also gone into the majoritarian institutions because politics is how things are done. And the biggest mistake that has happened in the reform movement in this country, they used to look down upon politics. They would go and feel that are clean. They would go and argue and come up with very good policies. Then they give it to the same bad politicians to implement, and they mess it. So may I say that the time has come for us to step forward and implement this thing. Now, when you get a threat to the Constitution coming from the presidency, pushing that you want this thing to be dismantled and rearranged and whatever, then you must take the resistance and the resistance and the protection of the Constitution to a contest for power at the presidency. Let the presidency go into the hands of somebody who believes that this Constitution is good and it should be implemented as it is to the letter. And if there's any amendment to be done, then let the amendment come after you have test run the entire document. You cannot begin saying this vehicle, assuming you have put a vehicle together, you cannot begin saying that this vehicle, this 1,000-ton engine is useless when you rev it and then it is not anchored on wheels. You see? Or the wheels are deflated.
Yeah.
So this thing needs to be implemented fully, then we see if there's any problem. That's when we can say we need to amend. We have tested it like this. Take the case that they are saying that this thing is too expensive to implement and what have you. But look at the pilferage, the theft of public assets. And that's the main theft is simply because they have refused to delink the treasury from the Ministry of Finance. So the treasury becomes like the pocket, just like...
it's an appendage of the Ministry of Finance.
Of Finance. Yes. So, and who is in charge of finance is a politician. The minister and then a PS appointed by the president. The money is just open. That's why a president, even in the best of intentions, can go on a tour to a place and is told, hey, mister, our bridge is broken.
Yeah.
Now, what does the president say? He says, Buena PS, can you allocate them so much to fix the bridge? And there is a budget that has been passed by Parliament. And that particular statement of the president is not in that budget. What I would expect to happen if the treasury was delinked and was professionally run and could only be accessed, as the law says, through an appropriation by Parliament and supervision by the control of budget, not by the president. Then the president would say, where's your MP? Can you raise this issue in Parliament? And if it is too urgent, you can do a supplementary budget to address it, or in the next budget cycle, it comes in, it will be addressed, so that the president does not have the power to allocate anything in this country.
Okay, so I see a challenge here, and help me understand that. Is it possible, the way you explain it, and say, look, according to the Constitution, under which everybody is sworn to operate.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's what, especially with the president himself is sworn at.
But he takes a special oath.
Special oath to uphold the tenets of the Constitution under his administration. So there are certain things that even if you do not know, and I'm talking about knowledge, the ABCs of knowledge, it's very possible that as a human being, there are certain things in terms of operationalization that you do not know. Even if you don't, there are people who do, who would then be able to advise you. We had a bit of this conversation yesterday. Let us assume, in the very lowest forms of foolishness, let us assume that it is unknown to the president, who takes control and responsibility for the things that happen in the country. Let's say he does not know. There are people around him who fan the flames of his presidency who do know. When you talk about, you cannot just go and allocate money. You cannot stand up in a public place and say, well, I do not know who has abducted these people. But you can say that the arms that uphold that whom I have appointed people to then can take responsibility and say, don't abduct these people and put them in a dark hole somewhere. If they've committed an offense, bring them to court. What would stop him or anybody along these lines from saying, excuse me, this is not the way we ought to do it. We have sworn to the Constitution. Can we follow that? What would stop you from using the Constitution as your everlasting reference for anything that you do? Why would you not do that if it's supposed to be the handbook for operation?
I think it is a whole ecosystem that has to be in place, because, and the most important for me is chapter 12 on public finance. The example I've just given you, that the president can allocate funds whimsically on the spur of the moment. Then you find, in a country like ours, assuming the president came to my area in Busia and pronounced that we are giving 2 billion to Busia, would you think I can wake up and stand as a politician and say, Mr., you can't give us 2 billion, can it be taken to the budget? So that's what I'm saying, that what we need to do is to lock the gate, to lock the funds, to lock the bank, so that you get a national treasurer who is a professional. Once you starve these politicians of money that they can take anyhow, you'll find that the country will sober up and those institutions will begin working. In fact, the president is not just surrounded by people, he's surrounded by institutions.
Yes.
You have the Attorney General, a professional. You see, a highly qualified professional. And the qualification of an Attorney General is a qualification for a judge. So he knows the law. So the question that the president cannot know the law is not there, because he has been given a whole institution to help him when matters law. The only thing is that the office of the presidency becomes imperial because of the free access to taxpayers' money. That's why we must split the Treasury and the Ministry of Finance. Run the Treasury the way the central bank is run, by a national treasurer, independent, secure, and let the president, even if he became broke, call Mtata and say, Mtata leo uko namna gani bwana, unaweza kunirushia ka 50.
Would it be different if the individuals who sat at the helm of these institutions are appointed by the same president?
No, it will. No, you see, the appointment is a process under a process. So it will be able to establish independent office holders.
Right.
There might be an attempt to do what they have tried to do with the commissions, whereby the commissions have become sort of captive. But the whole thing with the commission is the design. When Parliament came up on how to populate the commissions, they designed something called an ad hoc committee. Now, philosophically and even practically, can something ad hoc produce something independent?
Very difficult.
Conceptually impossible. So it's where the problem is. It's not the Constitution, it's not the operationalization of that thing. So if they had put up that these commissioners, when they're being populated, institutions that exist, like in the judiciary and whatever, they'll have a panel and what have you, and the professional bodies. Then another thing is not ad hoc. Then you appoint. you will find that the permanent institutions that appoint these now independent bodies, the office holders, the people involved, because they are holding offices, will be very responsible. You take the case of the IBC. If I asked you who appointed Chebukati, who appointed Cherera, who appointed who, you will not tell me because they ad hoc committees. And right now, why is the IBC stuck? It's because somebody is in court fighting that he must be
the one
on the ad hoc committee because it's a chance for him to make something. And when he goes there and the aim is to make some money, then his thing is short term. He'll make his hay when the sun is shining, and he'll give you the highest bidder. That's why you have been unable to create independent commissions, including the IBC.
So, Senator, I hear you to be saying that these commissions, these offices that we speak of, essentially are auctioned.
Yeah, they're auctioned. But if we were to remove this thing of using ad hoc committees,
yes,
and said, okay, a selection panel will have the Chief Justice, will have so and so. This is important office holders. You'll find that the Chief Justice would want to think twice about who goes to be appointed there, because if that fellow messes, we go back for the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
You see. But an ad hoc fellow has gone back into the street.
Yeah.
There's something that... No, Eric, go ahead. Dennis, sorry.
Now, Senator, you've mentioned something that everyone should uphold and defend the Constitution. I dare say everyone must uphold and defend the Constitution. And you talk about the presidency being surrounded by institutions which ought to advise him on how to run the affairs of the Republic. Now, in the event that the Republic is not being run as expected, abductions are happening, the DCI does not know, the president does not know, is it a question of these institutions failing to uphold and defend the Constitution and in return misadvising the man at the top?
You know, earlier on I mentioned, first of all, the institutions, the way they are felt. Now, if you go back to the security forces, right now I've got a case in court. It's coming up in February, where I'm challenging the amendments that were done in 2014 to the National Police Act. And what was done is that they removed the procedure for appointing the DCI. And for removing the DCI. They changed the procedure of appointing the IG and the deputies and the procedure for removing them. So they removed that and left it to the whims of the president. So today the president can wake up and say, I'm appointing Komtata as the DCI.
Yeah. He can.
He can.
And the likelihood of Parliament then essentially shutting it down is nil.
And the Parliament will rubber stamp because the president controls the past. Yet in our structure of government, the past should not be controlled by the president. The past should be controlled by an independent body. And that's Article 225, Clause 1, which says that Parliament shall enact legislation to establish the national treasury. But it's not part of the finance, Ministry of Finance. So we need to establish that national treasury, have a national treasurer, just like we have the governor of the central bank, with clear policies ring-fenced, and let it be impossible for a politician to access money at his own whims. The politician should only access money through Parliament, and then that money, that once Parliament has passed the law, the Appropriation Act or the budget, it is supervised by the control of budget. So the control of budget now holds the key, should hold the key to the past. And the national treasurer now is the cashier. You see, like this thing they say, the president says that I have ensured that counties have been given their money. He should not be saying that. Who is he? It is not his money. This is money that has been collected from taxpayers, and the law says that 15%, at least 15%, should go to counties.
And yet, Senator, when he says this, he calls governors to State House, like he did last year in December, and says in the next year, this money will be disbursed, and all the things that you were supposed to be doing because of devolution then will be allowed to happen, and then there is grand applause for everybody.
Because the reality is that
they do not understand.
They do not understand that Parliament has failed to separate the treasury from the president, because they said an act of Parliament shall establish the national treasury.
Senator, if you say Parliament has failed, there is the implication that they have tried but didn't succeed. they haven't tried at all, have they?
No, they have not.
Yes.
They have not done anything about it.
In fact, they've railroaded it. They have ensured that does not happen.
And then they become now slaves to this man who controls who like the Chinua Achebe keeps it. He is holding with a cake and a knife. Yeah. So the president has got a cake and a knife.
So if we did have, a properly operating parliament, even these things that we see of abductions, okay, many would argue they were on recess, at this current time, so maybe they could not raise it on the floor of the House. But we should hear loud and clear from the rafters. Parliament should be saying, for example, Kenyans have a right to not be disappeared. Yes. Kenyans have a right to be presented in court if they have committed an offense and go through the proper judicial process. Things like that, are we saying that if it was operating in the manner in which it ought to, that we would hear it loud and clear from those quarters and the demand for proper justice to happen in this country? Would it?
Well, maybe, they should be. And maybe to be a bit fair, I would say that when the Kitengela 3 disappeared, Senator Perez Tobiko did move a motion in Parliament demanding certain things, but then when when the motion was just been assigned to a committee, they were released. But maybe that motion is still alive, and maybe what other person like me who sits in the Senate should think of doing is going back is to have that motion expanded so that it can do what? It can then address the whole thing of abductions comprehensively. It's not also true that Parliament was in recess. The 82, these 5 had also been taken when Parliament was on recess. And I also got involved about the immediate 5 because the last Kibet was captured when he left my office.
Yes.
So, these other 82 have been there before Parliament went on recess.
Oh, in this case, not there. We don't know where they are.
They've been, so these issues have been there. So we don't know. I've just seen something scrolling on the screen there that the Law Society of Uganda has suspended or has revoked the practicing certificate of a sitting judge for corruption. Now, whether that judge can continue sitting without a practice certificate is something we don't know. But anyway, I want to bring a very important thing. That is a very, very important thing that needs to happen in this country. The role of professional institutions to ensure that their members uphold the ethical standards of the profession. I would love to see the Association of Engineers of Kenya ripping apart practicing certificates of engineers who certify bad roads. I would like to see the Law Society ripping apart the certificates of lawyers who draw funny contracts that they expose us. I would like to see, is it called ISPAC? ISPAC taking action against all these fraudulent accountants who give us fictitious statements of account and all over. If the professional bodies were to crack the whip as professional institutions, this country would shape up. So, as we take the focus away from the politicians, there's also the professionals. You see, like, I like the Bible, and when I look at the Old Testament, I see the 3 pillars were the prince, the prophet, and the priest. So the priest was involved in worship and what have you, praising God. The prince governed, but the prophet would come up to demand justice and fairness and professionalism in the way things are done. So our prophetic voice in the secular society should be the professional institutions who should demand that their members maintain standards. Because when you look at all these scandals at the end of the day, even when you say that the president is getting money from the treasury, he doesn't sign anywhere. It is professionals who acquiesce or get complicit in the mess. So we also need to look at our professional bodies. And I'm just saying this because of what I've seen on the screen, that the Ugandan Law Society has revoked the practicing certificate of a judge because of corruption. You can see that the system that was supposed to hold the judge accountable institutions, maybe like our equivalent of the Judicial Service Commission, is not acting. But this man is a member of a profession, or this woman is a member of a profession.
But in this country, does it actually count? Because
it should count. It doesn't.
You see, why I brought in the analogy of 9/11 is the effect of it.
You
see, the effect of it when it comes to people then having the very priorities of their mind altered so that they're now in survival mode.
Yeah.
When they consider the consequences of what they need to do to be right, they will shy away from it.
Yeah.
See, what Parliament does is not the problem. It's why they do it.
Yeah.
And so long as you say the purse strings are held by an individual who shouldn't have the purse strings, Parliament is going to continue behaving exactly the way they're behaving.
Yes. And so when people talk about there's a common phrase that was introduced in the political circles by Dwight Gingrich. He was a very, very colorful American speaker of the House. He came up with the phrases like
his first name was Newt.
Newt Gingrich, yes. He came up with the phrase that all politics is local. And then he's also the one who came up with the idea that you drain the swamp. You don't wait to kill every mosquito or snake or whatever that creeps out of the swamp.
No.
Just drain the swamp.
Remove the host.
So this high culture has come and people are calling of draining the swamp. And me, the swamp is that one. Separating the treasury from the presidency. So that the president cannot have access or control of the treasury. Once we do that, politics will sober up in this country. But because the president has got access to that treasury
And control.
So the politician, you will find that the politician now have to go and bow before him because he can do them favors. But if you had no capacity to do favors, you have got a problem of water in your village. You say now, like you even don't look for the president, you look for Farouk, who is an entity in terms of the structure. You look for Farouk and tell Farouk, can you please ongea na mzee iko shida kama hii. You see, already you are supposed to be a legislator oversighting this mzee, but you can't oversight, you can't cut the hand that feeds you.
Exactly.
You see, so what we need to do is to go back to the design of the constitution.
What it was meant to be.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And create those institutions. And that's why I'm saying I want to be president. And achieve that. Deliberately make sure that we implement the constitution 100%. And then going forward, it will not matter who is president of this country. It will just as much as it matters today.
Indeed. I mean, that's a great note to end on, at least for this conversation, but they're conversations that must continue. Senator from Busia County, Okiom Tata has been our guest this hour. Thank you for being here, and these conversations must continue. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Nice.
When I told you we are heading to a revolution.
I remember.
And you asked, are you real? And I told you we are going there.
So you're telling me we're in a revolutionary phase now?
Right now, people are going to cool off for a moment. But when it's coming back, it will just take this government down. I can tell you for real.
Welcome back.
Thank you,
Good to have you here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How would you define 2024? We just came off 2024. Some people say it was crazy.
I can say it was sad year for Kenyans because we lost a lot of young Kenyans that we should not have lost. Because this issue of finance bill, the reason we lost those young people is because ya kujipiga kifua. The president alikuwa ameambiwa, people don't want this thing. He said, mtaimeza kama dawa. I'm telling you, and we lost a lot of young people. A lot of young people.
Very sad, man.
Yeah. And you know, a young person lost. Na si vijana tu hivi. Some people are graduates from universities. You know, na watu are graduate and they are being gunned down. Wazazi wanawatafuta. Mzazi anaenda anapata mtoto wake kwa mochari amewekwa kwa tag kwa mguu. Sijui huyu aliuliwa aje. And you know, it was a sad year. We can say it was a sad year. And that is the year that this regime should have ile kufikiria tena. Where are you people going wrong?
They need some soul searching.
Yeah, soul searching.
What are you expecting in 2025? You know, it's interesting. I was reading the Standard just before the new year. And they're talking about how about 79% of Kenyans were optimistic. No, sorry. They were pessimistic. Yes, and then I think 15% were optimistic. And then the rest were neither here nor there. You know, they were indifferent. They didn't know what to expect.
You see, the reason people don't give Ruto's time is